Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Samantha Davidson and I am a young adult author. I wanted to take today to talk about my journey through my writing process, where I started, how I've gotten to the point that I am, and what I still have ahead of me. So today we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into my past, my writing, and where I currently am now. So I worked abroad for about 10 years, and when I got back to land, I realized how much I had missed writing. And so that was back in early 2015, and I began writing a suspense novel. It was a thriller that took place in Portland, Oregon. And I wrote that for probably about 2 years. I got it to a point where I was really happy with it, and I had done revisions, and by revisions, at that point, I mean I had taken the book and printed it out and read through it and checked for grammar and called the book done. And it was not done by any stretch. I made every mistake, but I was pretty sure that I was on my way to being a writer. Completing the first 75,000 words was a huge occasion for me. Being able to say that I had completed that, I truly felt like I was legitimate and I belonged here and I had something to say. And I sent that book out to betas. And it was not ready to go to betas, and now I understand that and I can look back on that and see my mistakes. But at the point that I sent it out, I didn't. And I thought I was ready. And when I got feedback from my betas, I was devastated. I thought that I had this amazing product. I'd sent it out to my closest friends and family, who had of course given me nothing but praise. And I thought I had a gem. And then I got the feedback, and it was not anywhere near what I was expecting. Granted, the beta reader that assisted, or the couple beta readers that I brought on, were a little bit more aggressive than they needed to be, and it was not probably the right person that I needed to be reading my work, but they tore it apart, and I was devastated. Let's flash forward about 6 months. I went to a writer's conference, and I decided going into the writer's conference that I was going to take my newly revised book, which was the same book with minor revisions after the beta reader had tore it apart, and I took it to the conference and I decided to enter it in a live action slush. And for any of you who have done a live action slush before, you will realize how much of a mistake that was. But a live action slush, essentially you have a panel of 3 to 5 judges who are either agents or editors or writers who are very familiar with submission, and they will read the first page of your story. And when they would stop reading as a submission editor or as an agent, they put up their hand. I think by the 3rd paragraph, I had all 3 hands up. And that's when they stop reading and they move on to the next story. And I, again, was devastated. I was brokenhearted. I started to wonder if this process was even for me, if I should be a writer. I had a lot of self-doubt, a lot of imposter syndrome, and I put my book away. And in October of that year, I started to hear about NaNoWriMo, and I'd never heard about NaNoWriMo prior to that. And so I decided, let's give this a try. So this is now October, November of 2017, last year. So without a plan, without really any outline, I had a premise for a young adult fantasy novel. I have never written fantasy before. I had no idea what I was doing. I dove in. And it was really hard in the beginning with world building and trying to create magic systems and creatures and lands, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But I managed to finish NaNoWriMo. I had just over 50,000 words by the time I got to the end of November. I was so proud of myself because it had taken me 2 years prior to that to write an entire novel. So to be able to accomplish 50,000 words in 1 month was amazing, and I am so grateful for that experience. I took a couple of weeks off, and at the end of December I went back into my novel and I completed it to about 85,000 words, 90,000 words. And I put it aside, and I gave myself a little bit of extra time to kind of digest and realize what my next steps were. And I know that for me, going into the revisions of my suspense novel, I didn't know what to do or how to take that next step. I was really stuck on that. And so I started looking for a writing coach or an editor that would be able to help me with not just the grammar and the sentence structure, but with premise and storyline and overarching goals of each of my characters, be able to hash out the rest of the story with me to create a final finished product that I was happy with. So I looked on a lot of the different platforms, on Fiverr, on Upwork, on Freelancer, and I ended up finding my editor on Upwork. She's amazing. Her price point was in a range that I was really comfortable with. She's both an author and an editor, so she knew both sides of the publishing world, both from an author standpoint and an editor standpoint. So I decided to move forward with her, and we did a developmental edit, which was fantastic. I sent out my book. I was really nervous. It only took her about a day and a half to get it back to me, and her feedback was invaluable. My character was coming across as really young, and my debut novel, the first in the series, is a coming-of-age story. And I felt like I had to present my character as a lot younger and more immature than he needed to be, so that that coming-of-age story was really clear moving through. But it didn't need to be that, and she pointed that out. So we tore the first 20,000 words out of the book and about 10 to 15 out of the back end of my book. And even during revisions, I didn't really know how to approach them, and she walked me through that entire process and explained how it needed to be, and she was just so helpful. It was really nice to have somebody in my corner who had been through the process, who knew what I was going through, and who could walk me through every step I needed to take. So after rewriting all of the first half of my book and a good portion of the third act of my book, I sent it back in, and we decided to do one more round of developmental edits because so much of my story had changed. And again, I'm really happy that we did that. The feedback that I got, again, was invaluable and just really helped to brighten the story. So we finished that. I received those edits back. I actually went through a critique partner process while I was in Bali at that writer's retreat that I went to, and that helped my process. Every bit of feedback you can get is going to help your process. And I have just sent out my current manuscript for my copy edits and line edits. Now, we decided, because she's seen my story so many times, that we would just jump straight to copy edits. She is looking, I'm hoping that she's going to be looking at line edits as well, going through and making sure that everything is perfect, and then also looking at grammar and spelling and all that. So that's where I'm at. I've been through 2 developmental edits. I'm waiting on my copy edits to come back in. I'm nervous as hell about what that's going to look like and the amount of work that is still left in the process. And I'm doing all of this prior to querying. So I've gotten a lot of feedback from other writers who don't understand why I'm going through the entire process of editing prior to querying. And once you query, you're going to have an agent that picks you up, and that agent is going to send you to their editor to fine-tune your manuscript. So essentially, I've just created a lot of extra work for myself with the editor that I'm working with. But I've chosen to go through and pay for my own editor for a few different reasons. One is because I want to be querying with the best possible story that I can query. And second to that, I didn't know how to take every step of this process. I would get overwhelmed and frustrated with not understanding how to do my revisions or how to approach revisions. I would be completely engulfed in the nuances of what editing my own work looked like. And it would paralyze me, and I would find ways to procrastinate and not move forward because I didn't know what that step was supposed to look like. So hiring my editor helped me to move past that. She would constantly give me feedback and information and tips and tricks to be able to move past each one of those steps to be able to get my work done. And finally, I want to query, but if I end up querying for, let's say, 6 months, a year, and not have any feedback, I really want to get my book into readers' hands. And If that means I choose to self-publish, if the querying route and traditional publishing doesn't pan out for me, I now know that I have a finished product and I don't have to go back to the drawing board and try and go through this entire process again and give myself another entire year to get this done. I know that my book is ready to go as soon as I'm ready to make that choice. So those are my reasons for wanting to have this edited and have it perfect before I query. I will be querying hopefully in the new year. I've started my agent search and what that looks like and who I'm looking for and who I want to represent me. So that's definitely a new process all over again. Writing my synopsis has been challenging. Writing my query has been challenging. So having somebody on my side and in my corner through this entire process has been so helpful. Anyways, that's kind of my process. That's how I've got to this point so far. I will definitely be doing a video once I get my feedback from my editor. And I want you guys to share along in this journey with me as I get that feedback and I apply those edits and I move on to this querying phase. Thank you guys again for following me, for being a part of this journey, and for experiencing this along with me. I can't wait to see what comes of this. I look forward to talking to you guys again very soon, and I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon. Bye, guys.